Hi friends, Aitherea here, and as you can see, I am on the Final Fantasy XIV forums, and I'm looking at a post titled hashtag Final Fantasy XIV Healer Strike, posted by somebody named Jamina. Now, I found out about this through Cole Evix's video. I didn't know that this was like a thing, but I main healer, and this is kind of like a argument about their issues with healer, and they want to set up like a strike, a boycott, if you will, and they're asking people to essentially stop playing healer come Dawn Trail to send a message to the dev team that we are dissatisfied with the direction that healer is going in and that we want to see change. And they're asking that people not only join this boycott, but also that they leave their comments in this thread, talk about their experiences, their thoughts, and voice their opinions on healer, give suggestions, that sort of thing. And they do ask that everyone be nice. They're saying, please don't be offensive, and they're not trying to offend the devs. They're just trying to, I guess, provide some constructive criticism. And so I would like to go through the points that they have made here and share my opinion on those things, because boy, do I have opinions about healers. And it's funny because I would say that largely I agree with them, but there are some discrepancies here and there. So this is a topic that I'm honestly very passionate about, so I did really want to just share my opinion on it. So I'm going to go through their points here one by one. This is kind of what they're saying is wrong with the game / healers, and kind of how they want to see the game change to make healing better and more engaging. So we're going to go through these one by one, and I'll share my opinions on them one by one as well. So the first thing they say is self-sustain and healing abilities given to other roles. The choice or direction to give such abilities to roles outside of healer encroaches on the role of healer. I actually completely agree with this. I think that we make healer less valuable when we give so much sustain to other classes. So first of all, like all of the tanks, and there's actually another post on the forums here. This post on the forums is about basically the fact that Xenosis shared a video that he was able to go through a dungeon in Dawn Trail, the first dungeon in Dawn Trail, without a healer. And the second post on here I thought was really interesting because they list a bunch of skills, and they didn't even get all of them. I think they forgot Dark Knight's, which is basically excogation. Dark Knight basically got a personal excog, and it's really powerful. I think it has like a 1200 cure potency. It's insane. So they list all these different skills that have been added to the game. Rampart increases HP recovery via healing actions on self by 15%. Now this does mean that if a healer heals them, they're gonna have like more healing from that healer. This is not just self heals. This is like any heal that touches them will have increased potency. But this paired with all of these new skills that they got, like look, this is the warrior one, Damnation, and it gives healing over time. The cure potency is 400. That's a lot, guys. My Afflatus Rapture, my AoE heal on White Mage for a Lily is 400 potency right now, just to give you guys an example of how powerful that is. So this is really, really strong for it to be 15 seconds and 400 per tick. And then if you do that during Rampart as well, which you probably wouldn't want to because Damnation has 40%, but just say that you did, you're like invincible. It's crazy. It's really, really powerful. And even on its own, even without that, it's so powerful. Monk is getting this Earth's Reply that it can have 300 cure potency, or it can have 500 if they're under Earth's Rumination. Guardian from Paladin, 1000 potency barrier. So that one's not really a heal, but it's a really strong barrier. Great Nebula on Gunbreaker. This increases maximum HP by 20% and restores the amount increased. 20% is a lot. Like this is 20% of your HP. So that's a lot. And then this one is Summoner Skill that is unlocked with the Solar Bahamut, which she'll be able to use roughly every minute. Like I think the cooldown on the Solar Bahamut is like 1 minute. So this is a cure potency 500, and it's an AoE heal. Like it's literally the whole party, and it's off global cooldown. So they'll get to use this like roughly once every 60 seconds. Ridiculous. Like it's kind of a ridiculous amount of healing, for other jobs to have, like, Monk does not need an AoE heal and Summoner does not need an AoE heal. I don't know if they did this to try to make Summoner closer to, like, Red Mage, but if you ask me, Red Mage doesn't need Vercure. Get out of here. Like, why do you have that? You're not a healer. Let me go back to the first one now. So I actually do think it's a problem because it really does take value away from healers. Why take a healer along with you when DPS can do so much more because they can DPS, they're going to out DPS a healer no matter what, as long as they know how to play their job. They don't even have to be that good at it. They just have to, like, press some buttons, right? And they're going to out DPS a healer. So now if you take a Summoner or a Red Mage or both, and you're playing a tank, especially a warrior, you don't need a healer. And then the final job can be just whatever you want. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you pick the right jobs that have good sustain or that have, like, good self-mitigations, like Ninja that has Shade Shift and then Bloodbath, like all these jobs having Bloodbath, you know, it's like, why do you need a healer? You don't need one. Get out. Like, why? You know, and that's just really sad. That's just really sad, and that shouldn't be a thing. In my opinion, it should not be possible to do a dungeon without a healer. Just like, period. Like, a normal mode dungeon should not be possible without a healer. I'm not saying that a normal mode dungeon should be so hard that that you can't complete it. And they mention here somewhere that it's important that the story still be doable by everybody. Because I still think that even the worst players in the game, who are so bad they can't dodge anything and have to get carried through everything, they deserve to enjoy the story, right? So it's not like I'm trying to say that we need to make the dungeons, like, so hard that people can't do them. Like, that's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying that you should need a healer. Like, a healer, they need to have value. And when you give sustain and healing abilities to so many other roles, they lose their value. I was talking about this with one of my friends when I saw all the changes being made to the tanks and how much healing they were getting. We were kind of talking about this. And he had this amazing suggestion where he was like, what if all of the tank heals, or like all of the self heals, not even just tank heals, but like, what if all of the self heals that jobs got were like Clemency? So if you don't know Clemency, I don't know it that well either because I haven't gotten my Paladin. My Paladin's level 1. So it's not even a Paladin yet. But Clemency is basically a global cooldown heal, which means that if a Paladin wants to use Clemency to heal themselves, which I don't know if it's just a self heal or if they can use it on any target, but if they want to use Clemency, they have to stop attacking. So the idea is that we gave self-sustain abilities to other roles, or any, like, well, mainly self-sustain, because I just don't even think they should have AoE heals. Just nix that completely. But if we're giving self-sustain or healing abilities to other roles, they should definitely be, at the very least, GCD, because then people are punished for using them. Everybody, like, so many people who play this game are so obsessed with their DPS. They want big numbers. That's what they care about. It's a DPS loss to stop and spend a GCD on a heal. So if we make all of the heals in the game that go to non-healers GCDs, people aren't going to want to use them, which means that healers will have more value because the healer will be like, I'll heal you so you don't have to heal you, but they will still have a heal. Even if it's GCD, they will still have a heal if things go badly. If things go poorly in the dungeon, in the alliance raid, whatever it may be, they will still have a self-heal. It'll just be GCD. So they'll be punished for using it a little bit, but it will be there in case they need it. So that way, they will err towards not using it, but if they absolutely have to, it's there. So I thought that was a super great idea, which is why I also wanted to share, because I think that's just like a fantastic idea that slightly solves this problem. So next, oversimplified DPS rotations. Every job in Final Fantasy XIV has a filler GCD skill that they press when there are no other requirements. No role in the game pushes this skill more than healer. Not by a long shot. Our offensive capability should still feel dynamic and rewarding. Yes, we are healers, but we are also casters. I have mixed feelings about this one. In a perfect world, we would be having our healing spells would be our main spells, and then Glare is the filler, right? Like in most of the MMOs I've played, it's like 90% healing and 10% DPS. And I wish 14 was like that, if I'm being honest. And some of you are probably like, if you like healing so much and you're frustrated by this, like, why do you still play? And that is another can of worms entirely, but the TLDR is that I love the story, and I do genuinely love the game, and I don't hate healing. I think it can be better. I do enjoy doing it, and I like how unpredictable healing is. It's the only thing in the game that is, to me, like, truly unpredictable. So for me, I do think they may have a good point if we consider heals to be what we should be doing and glare to be the filler skill. But I don't really like rotations. For me, it's boring. I find mashing buttons boring, and you probably look, that's all you do on healer, right? You just press glare. But I don't know how to describe it. Like, I kind of like it. I like how brain dead it is. I like that I don't have to think about it. I like that I can just do it. You know, like, I actually like that. I like that it's not complicated. I like that I don't have to study it, because I feel like when I get involved in a rotation, it's like this whole thing. There's so many DPS skills on some jobs, and it's like, oh, now I have to learn like how this works and how this stance works, and then, oh, I have to make sure I put my oGCD and I have to weave it in, and it just becomes this whole thing that it's not fun for me. It starts to feel like studying, and I've mentioned this before that I like don't want to study for the game. And it's funny because, like I said, I will study like a guide to do mechanics, but a lot of times I only watch it halfway through because I'm not going to watch a 20-minute video when I'm not even going to get that far. But yeah, like, there's just something about learning rotations that just doesn't click for me. And even if I learn a rotation, it still just feels like I'm pressing 1, 2, 3, 4 on my keyboard. It doesn't feel like I'm doing anything special, especially because I don't use ACT. So I can't see my damage. And honestly, even if I did, I don't really care about that. Like, I know a lot of people care about big damage. They want to do big damage, and that's like really fun for them and exciting. It's not for me. It's not. The reason that I prefer healer and that I love it so much is because green bar go up, brain go brr. The reality is that it's the only class that is truly unpredictable. You get into a roulette and you never know who you're going to get. People are going to make mistakes. You don't know when, you don't know where. All you know is that you have to be ready. There is nothing like more entertaining or satisfying in this game, or like that makes me like proud in a way, than when there's like a really scuffed, like even cursed run and I'm able to like carry people through it. Like, you literally feel like a god. Maybe I have a god complex, I don't know, but it feels so good, and I can never get that satisfaction on any other job. I just like healing. I just like it so much. And so while it is frustrating that this game is like 90% DPS, 90% glare, and 10% heal, I still like it, you know? Like, I still like that way more than I like DPSing, and way more than I like DPS rotations. I would rather press glare over and over. I know I'm the odd one out, but I would rather press glare over and over than have a DPS rotation. I would rather heal more than do either of those things, but if I have to choose, let me just press glare. I don't want a rotation. So as you can see, I both agree and disagree with this one a little bit. However, I will say, I know that I'm the odd one out. I understand that. So I kind of agree with, I think it was Miss Shaven Chair in a video like forever ago, where he said, leave White Mage as the easy, like stupid, simple, just press glare and then let the other ones have a healer rotation. So I'm cool with that. And I understand that I'm not the only one playing this game. So a simple rotation is something that I might have to deal with. But still, my main point is like, we shouldn't be pushing for a rotation for DPS. We should be pushing for more engaging healing. We should be pushing to take away heals from other jobs or to force them to have GCD heals. We should be pushing that we are prioritized and that we are given value. We should not be pushing for a DPS routine. I was going to say roulette. We shouldn't be pushing for a DPS rotation, okay? We should be pushing for us to heal more and have, and not even just heal more. We should be pushing for more engagement, right? So that could mean like things like using Esuna. We never really Esuna anymore. Like, wouldn't it be cool if we did that? I don't know. I have a different video saying about how I think we could make healing more interesting. If you want to check it out, I talk about how to add stress to the game, and I talk about it more there. So I'm not going to dwell on this one any longer, because oh boy, I talk a lot, and this is going to be a long video. Okay, so next we have homogenization of healer jobs. There is no individuality across the jobs in healer role to give them a sense of identity. Example, Seraphism mode change is angelic opposed to Fae. So this one, I'm not 100% sure what they mean. I feel like with this example, they're trying to say that like they don't have an identity lore-wise. And if that's the case, I kind of get that, because I mean, White Mage starts off as like this job that deals with elements. Like you're throwing water and earth. I don't think we have fire, but we throw water and earth. There's like they're used to, I don't know. We still have Aquavale. And what is glare? It's like just sparkly. What is the size? It's just sparkly. So in that sense, I get what they're saying. But if they mean at all homogenization across the roles, as in like the skills are the same, I have to strongly disagree. And I've seen people say this before, and they don't just say it about healer, they say it about a lot of jobs. But in terms of healer, I just strongly disagree with that statement, with that premise, because they all feel different. There's a reason that I like white mage and I don't like astrologian. Like, there's a reason, right? They feel so different. White mage is more of a burst healer, more of just kind of like a fat burst healer. I would even call it reactive. I know people will argue with me, but in my opinion, if the heal's going off after the damage, it's reactive. I don't care if you plan out your whole entire healing rotation during your static savage. I'm not here to argue about that, okay? Yes, healing in 14 is proactive, but with white mage, it can be reactive. With every job, it can be reactive. It's both. Shut up. Anyways, that's not the point. The point is that, like, white mage is a very burst healer, somewhat reactive, where with astrologian, the other pure healer, you do have to plan things out a lot more. For example, if we talk about Earthly Star, you place this skill down, and ideally you don't want to use it for 10 seconds because it gets stronger after 10 seconds. Same thing with like horoscope. When you use horoscope, you first have to use aspected Helios to make it a more powerful heal. And so that means that you're actually healing people with a regen. So you have to plan it out so that that regen is going to heal stuff, but then there's going to be more damage for horoscope to heal. Otherwise, you just like wasted your horoscope and it's like totally overhealing and unnecessary. So obviously there's some use cases where it can be like useful regardless, but it's just one of those things where like they feel so different. And when we talk about Sage and Scholar, Scholar has this incredible, thick, beautiful fat shield that it can do, which is Recitation Adlo. And they can even spread it with deployment tactics. And they can make it bigger. I believe if you use like Protraction, I think you can also use Fey Illumination, you can make like the fattest shield in the game. Sage just can't do it. And to me, they feel different. I think Sage feels more snappy and a little bit quicker. Like it feels like maybe it has more movement. But in general, like I said, snappy, more quick. Where Scholar feels a little bit slower to me. A little bit slower pace, a little bit more casty. And that's not, it all depends on, it can depend a little bit on your playstyle too. But my main point is that like, they don't feel the same to play even if they have overlap in skills. Like sure, both Scholar and Sage have the equivalent of Succor, but like that doesn't make them the same. So I disagree if they mean homogenization in terms of the actual spells and things. Like there has to be a bit of overlap in terms like to allow us to balance, but in general, like the play styles feel so different and they do have different capabilities and different strengths and weaknesses. So I don't think they're too homogenized in that sense. But if we're talking about have they lost their like lore identity, I think so. But I don't really care about that if I'm being honest. I care a whole lot more about gameplay being engaging, and for me that's not, I guess in terms of the job, like the job quests, like there can be like stories involved in those, so I get it, but let's move on. Excessive oGCD heals. These are not only abundant but exceptionally powerful. In addition to self-sustain on other roles, it reduces the dynamic of healing your comrades. Yeah, I actually agree with this one, and it's kind of funny because I've told people time and time again that I love Blue Mage. And when I say that I love Blue Mage, sometimes people will be like, but Aitherea, you have to do like a damage rotation on that one. What do you mean you like Blue Mage? And I don't really know my Blue Mage rotation. I don't really know. I'm sorry. If I ever do the Savage on there for the Morbal mount, I'll learn it. I promise. I kind of just have... I watch the Blue Academy thing and I put things on my bar and I press buttons. But the reason I love Blue Mage is because I love Blue Mage Healer. I've got my Palm Cure, I've got my White Wind, I've got my, like, that one that cleanses stuff. I've got all of them. I've got Angel's Snack, Angel's Whisper, I've got them all. I'm here for it. The reason I like Blue Mage Healing is because it's GCD heals, and they're casted. Blue Mage is such a fun job in general because it tips the game on its head. There's not even such a thing as a real tank. If you do a Blue Mage duty, or like let's say you do like an extreme trial or a Savage, and there's like tank busters and one of them has to be taken by an off tank, guess who's getting it? The top DPS is getting it. Like you'll have one person that like mimics tank role, right? And they might be able to get enough enmity with the skills that Blue Mage has to be like top enmity, right? So they're technically the tank. But like the second person is just whoever does the most DPS. Like it's like Blue Mage turns the game on its head. So what that means for Blue Mage Healer is that you are literally doing casted heals and oops. And as you can see, I was using Renon's Summoner Guide there. A media tour, check that out if you want to. So my thing is, as a Blue Mage Healer, you have to spend a lot more time actually healing because your heals are casted. It's more challenging and more engaging because your heals are casted. I've jokingly said before that we should just like take healer and like strip them of all of their like oGCD heals and just give them like nothing but casted heals, and it would be more fun. And like I'm half joking, but I'm half serious. Because I think that would make healer too challenging, especially for people that aren't that experienced or who are more casual players who don't like care about getting super good and who just want to make it through the story. But like it would be really fun, which is why I do it on Blue Mage. But yeah, I do think that there's a point here that we have so many oGCD heals to the point where like you can just glare and then press an oGCD. Like you don't get to stop and heal, right? Editing Aitherea here. I was kind of in the heat of the moment there, so that was a bad example because white mages don't really have that many off global cooldown heals to use. We do have a size, but most people throw it away for DPS rather than actually using it as a heal. So a better example would probably be Sage. You're sitting there casting doses over and over and over and over and over and over. And then like, oh, there's going to be some damage and you caracol. And like, if you need some more healing, you're probably going to hit Physis or something. Like you're not even going to heal that. And if you really need healing, then like you maybe heal Ixicol. You're like the chances of you actually like stopping to use a GCD heal, like when are you ever gonna cast Prognosis? Like very rarely. You gotta be in a real chaotic situation to actually press a GCD heal, aside from maybe like Eucrasian Prognosis. Like I think people use that one pretty often, but otherwise like no, like who's sitting there like casting a heal? Like you're not. You're just doses, Caracol, Physis, maybe some hollows, like you maybe some Ixicol. You're not doing a whole lot, you know. You're like it's all oGCD, man. It's all oGCD. You'll never stop with the doses. And it's funny, like I play White Mage, and White Mage has more GCD heals. All of the lilies are GCD heals, and I love the way it feels to press a lily. And some oGCD heals are fun to press too. But I do think there is a point here, and that possibly the game could be more fun if we did have more casted heals or more GCD heals, because then we would be more focused on healing instead of DPS. I wish that healers were not so DPS centric. I wish it was heal first, DPS later, but sometimes it really feels like it's DPS first, heal later. And obviously, like, you want to keep your team alive, that's more important, but like the game is just so DPS centered that it feels like as a healer, you're always thinking about what you can do to like reduce the amount of heals you're outputting. You're not thinking about like, how can I heal more? Like you're literally thinking about how can I DPS more and heal less. And that shouldn't be the case, right? Like that, to me, that's kind of crazy. So I feel this one. Okay, the final point, because I've been talking forever, but I'm sorry, I just have a lot to say about this. Lack of threat level in nearly all forms of content. Healers should feel like they have a place in all forms of content. It is understandable that difficulty can't be so great as to bar progression of story-based content. However, innovative means should still be employed to make a greater or full use of abilities. I agree with this as well. Because, I mean, what do I even say here? It's true. I would say that things are too easy, at least for me. And I do want to take that with a grain of salt, because when I posted my video about making the game more stressful, like my ideas on that, I did get a fair handful of comments of people being like, what, like, mad kind of, I don't think they were, I think they were worried. They were worried in the way that I'm worried about getting a DPS rotation. Like the more I see people talk about it, the more afraid I get that SE is going to do it. And it's like something I would hate, like truly I would hate it. So I think I understand where these people are coming from, because they see so many people being like, the game is too easy. And for them, if it's challenging, they get worried that it's going to be something that they're not going to enjoy and they're not going to be able to do. So I get that. But at the same time, I don't feel like making the game more engaging has to mean making it harder or like too difficult. Like, for example, a way that you could make the game more engaging, at least for healers, would just be to be like, Esuna that. Like, that needs to be Esuna'd, right? Or even having like, because you know how there's like some, I was going to call them duties, but like, let's call them dungeons, especially like MSQ ones where you're with NPCs. Like there'll be like NPCs off to the side. Like what if there was like a mechanic where you had to like focus on healing an NPC while the other players in your team, like the tank and DPS, had to like protect the NPC from all the mobs or something. So you would have to focus on healing the NPC and like a little bit your group as well. I don't know, maybe that's too difficult to be like, oh, you have to heal both, but like maybe it's something where you can just like throw a regen. I don't know. I'm just like throwing things out there. I also think, like I said, having more things to Esuna, and then just like in terms of saying like, this is less about healer, but in terms of saying things about how we can make the game more engaging without making it harder would just be simple things like having mobs that you should kill first. Like remember in lower level content how there were mobs that could heal other mobs and you would kill them first? Like you would literally get this in like duties. Like you're doing a random duty, like the single player duties that are like part of the story, and there's like literally mobs healing the other mobs, and so like you need to kill that first. Why don't we reintroduce that into dungeons? You know, like stuff like that, or like maybe one that buffs them or something, or maybe one that'll debuff everybody, so if you kill it first, or like the faster you kill it, like the less likely you're going to have that debuff last on your party, and maybe that debuff means that the healer has to heal more. So we circle back around and find a way to make it more engaging for everyone and healer, and allow healer to heal more. That's kind of, you know, what I'm saying here. So I think they have a lot of good points. So now I've gone through all of their main points, and I think I agree with almost everything. The only thing I disagree with is that I don't want a DPS rotation, but I guess I half-heartedly disagree because, like, I strongly disagree for myself, and I stand by what I said with we should be trying, like, we shouldn't be striving for a DPS rotation. We should be striving to heal and to have, like, require healers to heal and have value. And I feel like the DPS rotation is, like, not the way we want to go with that. So I do wholeheartedly, like, feel kind of, like, against it, but then I'm also understand that I'm not the only person playing this game. I understand that I'm the odd one out with that one. So can we call a truce? Can we compromise? Please leave White Mage alone and give the other ones a rotation. Okay, but still, I still think they should keep it simple like the tank rotations are. I could handle that. And then, like I said, homogenization, I don't think that is accurate unless they're talking about like lore identity. So that's kind of how I feel about everything. So I basically agree with everything but those things I said. And now is the final question, am I going to strike? Because I just said I agree with basically everything they said. No, I'm not going to strike. And the simple reason for that is because I do not enjoy playing any other role. I don't enjoy DPS. I really only enjoy healing. So for me, I would ruin my Dawn Trail experience if I did this. And, you know, I'm not sure if this will make a change or not. I do think that the devs pay attention, and I do think that they're going to see this thread. Because it's 148 pages long. This is a big deal. There's also people like Cole Evix and myself, and who knows who else making videos about this. This got a Reddit post. So I don't think this is going to fly under their radar, whether the strike goes well or not in terms of reducing the amount of healers in Duty Finder. But even if we do strike, we're not going to see immediate change because it takes a long time to change things. And as much as I complained, I am hopeful. And there's two reasons that I'm hopeful. First of all, the dungeon that Synosis did was only the first one. And Yoshi did say in different interviews and things, you can look around at the articles and the interviews from the media tour, that they are looking at ways to change up mechanics and make them feel more fresh, more exciting, and not just the same old recycled stuff, is basically kind of like the TLDR there. And so he had said that that's what they're focusing on for Dawn Trail. And then come 8.0, they want to focus on jobs and making jobs feel more, I guess, engaging or satisfying or have their own identity, something along those lines. So I think, first of all, I'm holding out a little bit of hope that the reason they're adding all these skills is because there will be more. Maybe it's copium, but they're adding all these skills for like the other jobs, like the tanks are getting such beefy heals, and even the healer, like, okay, the tanks and monk and summoner are whatever, like they're getting their heals, but even the healers are getting really cool skills, like Scholar getting Seraphism. It's basically like a GCD spam, like you can spam emergency tactics and succor. Well, it's consultation now, but like it's getting this crazy, insane healing mode. Like it's becoming it's going to be a pure healer every 3 minutes if it wants to be. Or was it 2 minutes? I don't remember. I think it's 3. So it's like seeing the things that they are adding to both healers and DPS and tanks is like, okay, like, are we actually going to need this much healing? Like what? And he did specifically say like that they're trying to make the game more engaging, that they felt like they oversimplified things too much. There was that whole article and interview about him saying that the game has lost its stress. So it feels like they might be trying to put some of that back in Dawntrail. So even though I'm making a whole video about this, I do wonder if me and Jamina are getting ahead of ourselves. Maybe we need to hold our horses. I actually do think we need to hold our horses and see what happens in Dawntrail. I want to see this expansion play out, and not just the first 3 trials and a few dungeons from the initial release of the game. Like, I want to see, as patches go on, does it get harder or does it get more engaging? Again, something can be engaging without being difficult or overly difficult. So I do think we're jumping the gun here. I just like talking. I'm so sorry. And then the second thing that gives me hope is that he did say that they're focusing on the mechanics and kind of gameplay, I guess, that kind of thing, encounters, if you will, for Dawntrail. And then in 8.0, they're going to be focusing more on the jobs themselves. So maybe in 8.0, I don't know that they're going to totally rework all the jobs, because that would be a crazy amount of effort having to be put in there. But maybe they will look at some of the things we're saying here and be like, do we really want those heals? I have no idea what it is that they're going to do in 8.0 or what it is that they want to do with the jobs to improve them. But they did talk about wanting to improve the jobs and make them more satisfying to play and give them style and give them, what did they say? It was personal something or other. You guys will have to look it up. But basically, they're going to be working on the jobs. So I do have hope. And I don't think I'm hoping it's not unfounded. I don't think it is. But yeah, I think we're jumping the gun here. And that's so the 2 reasons that I don't want to strike is mainly because I just love healer. I don't even like playing anything else. I don't want to play anything else. I wouldn't, if the healers didn't exist in this game, I wouldn't be playing it. As much as I just complained about it, I wouldn't be playing the game without healers. So that's the first reason. And then the second reason is, like I said, I honestly think that me and Jamina are jumping the gun. We need to shut the hell up and let the devs do their thing. I mean, actually, we don't need to shut, because I think it is important to bring these criticisms to the forefront and let the devs know what we're thinking about in these things, because if they don't know what we want and if they don't know that we are dissatisfied, then they're not going to know what direction to go in or what directions to even consider when they are maybe revising jobs or revising different aspects of the game. So it is important that we chat about it a little bit. So I'm going to shut up now, because I did not think I was going to talk so long about this, but that was my little mini podcast about the state of healers and this healer strike. So I hope that you enjoyed. I hope you don't hate me too much, and I hope you agree. I don't know why you would hate me, but I feel like every time I share my opinion, I always get comments from people that are really kind of nasty sometimes about me just sharing my opinion. It's not that serious. I don't think my opinion is fact. It's just my opinion. The game might not go the way that I want it to, and if that's the case, either I will see how it goes and maybe I'll like it, and if I don't, then eventually I'll probably find something else, and that's just how it goes. But for now, I still really like Final Fantasy XIV. As much as I complain about healing, I actually still like it and still like doing it. So there you go, a little bite, kind of like a bite-sized podcast. As always, please consider leaving a sacrifice for Lord Algorithm in the form of a like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much to my channel members for supporting me, and I hope that you also liked this excessive ramble. This is what you're paying for. You got your money's worth. I've been here for 30 minutes or more. How ridiculous. Thank you all for watching. Bye.